BelGeode, and we are back with some more Explain 11 in virtual reality. Howdy, folks, and we are back here in Explain 11, back in beautiful Ibiza, and we are going to be flying from Ibiza to Mallorca in the Orbix Balearic Islands. Tonight, I am going to be flying in what I consider to be the absolutely most unusual aircraft that it's ever been my pleasure to fly in Explain 11. This monstrosity is called the Pond Racer and was designed by Bert Rutan. The whole idea behind this aircraft, it was supposed to be used for the Reno Air Races as part of an effort to swing the Reno Air Races from old warbirds to more modern designs. Now, it does have a bit of a tragic history in real life. Only one of these suckers was built, and unfortunately, in the early 90s, in 91, I think it was, while qualifying for Reno, the aircraft crashed, killing its pilot. So, unfortunately, this aircraft no longer flies in real life. However, this version that we're going to be checking out tonight is by good old VSkyLabs. And again, huge thank you to VSkyLabs for the preview version of this bird. One thing I do want to get out of the way immediately. The livery that you are seeing right now is a custom livery made by myself in paint.net. This is not one of the liveries that you will get when you purchase the Pond Racer. So let's just throw that out there right now. I'm still debating as to whether or not I want to put this online on explain.org. I don't know. If I feel up to it, I'll do it. If not, won't worry about it. But I designed this particular livery to look like one of my favorite birds from World War II, the Grumman Hellcat. So I call this the Hellcat livery. Pretty cool stuff. All right, but getting back to the actual aircraft itself. So, as I mentioned, this thing was designed to compete in the air races, and the original engines that were on it were electromotive automotive engines, two of them. They were supposed to have an output of 1,000 horsepower each, so figure that's 2,000 horsepower. In reality, it actually only made it up to about 600 horsepower per engine, which is not all that great. So, for this rendition of the Pond Racer, what VSkyLabs has done, they've taken it back to the Explain drawing board, as it were, and with the help of the Rutans, they've redesigned this and added two different engines. And the engines that we're going to be taking a look at real quick, as soon as I walk over to the front of the aircraft, these two engines are actually turboprops. They may be familiar to some of you who are used to flying turboprops. This is the PT6A-28. And if I click right here, we can open it up, and now you can get a really good look at the modeling of said turboprop engine. There's two of these bad boys in there, so you know this thing's got some serious power. Absolutely incredible. You can also open the other side too. So let me hit that real quick, give you a quick view. There you go. So yeah, this is a very unusual configuration that is partly, I guess, inspired by aircraft like the P-38. You think about the whole twin boom with the engines on there. But the wing design, you'll notice, is kind of canted forward instead of swept back or a straight wing as you would normally find with most racers. Now, what that basically means is it does have a fair amount of stability when flying, and that's going to come in handy because the way I've got the weather set today, there is a little bit of turbulence up there, and we're going to try to do some fun shenanigans in the process here. All right, so let me head over to the other side. You can see right there where the two wings meet. And then, of course, you've got the cockpit in the back and kind of like a sled configuration, as I'm calling it. Pretty interesting stuff there. And I imagine how they would get into this thing was to probably go over the boom and then walk up to the other side. You may notice on the front, I've actually got my name and my call sign, Striker. Interesting story about the call sign. I actually got that call sign when I was flying with the Freebirds, which was a virtual squadron in the old game Falcon 4.0. My very first flight, I went to take off with my wing commander in the F-16 Falcon, and unfortunately, I over-rotated, struck the tail on the ground, spun out, hit my wing commander, and the two of us went up in a blaze of glory. So ever since that day, I've been called Striker. All right, let's hop into the bird and I'll introduce you to the office, and then we'll go ahead and get her started. We'll take off from runway 6, I believe is the active runway today. We'll do some funky aerobatic shenanigans over Ibiza, and then we will head over to Mallorca, which is off in that direction. So hop in with me, folks. All right, so we are in, and apologies in advance if you can hear my squeaky office chair. I really need to replace that dang thing. But this is the office for the Pond Racer. So let's take a quick look around here. I've got to physically move myself because, of course, I am in VR. But you've got in the back here your booster pumps for your fuel, got your transponder, and there is a rudimentary autopilot that we will be using. You've got your electrical controls, and also your pressurization and oxygen, because this thing can actually fly relatively high. I'll have the stats popping up as pop-up commentary as I go through all of this here. And we've got a nice nifty panel, all analog gauges, no glass cockpit here, but we do have twin GPS units, and as you can see, they are GNS 430s. We're going to be utilizing that to help us get to Mallorca, because otherwise it's like blue water ops, and the only thing I know is just fly off in that direction. All right, so continuing on, we got the center console there, which is where our comms are, and also our lights. So all of our light switches are there. As we move over to the left side, we've got our trim controls, we've got the pressurization, the actual canopy seal once the canopy gets closed, and then, of course, our 2 prop pitch, 2 throttles, and so on. Our mixture knobs are right there, but it's not really a mixture knob since this is a turboprop. It's more like a fuel cutoff lever, so to speak. But I'll show you how those work in a moment because we are going to go ahead and start it up. Now, starting this bird is relatively easy, but there's a couple of gotchas. Because it's a turboprop, you can't just immediately introduce fuel. Otherwise, you're going to have a hot start and a bad day. So here's how we're going to do it. Let's start with getting the battery on. So the main power switch is right there. Battery is on. Avionics is right next to it, as well as the 2 inverters. We won't need those just yet. You can hear everything coming to life right now. Make sure that all the necessary caution and warning lights are in fact on, which it looks like they are. All right, so fuel is still shut off, so we're good to go there. And in order to start the engines, what we're going to be listening for, first off, we're going to be hitting the ignition switch, which you'll hear like a noise. Then we will hit the starter. When we hear a beep, there will be an audible beep. That's our cue to pull in this fuel lever. And then, of course, we'll do the same thing for the other engine, provided, of course, we don't blow up the first one. All right, so wish me luck. Here we go. Ignition switch on. There's the click, click, click. Starter. There's the beep. Push the fuel lever in. Starter has gone off automatically. We've got good ignition. Let's get generator 1 on, and we'll go ahead and turn off the ignition there. So we're good to go on that side. We'll just wait for the prop to spin up there. We'll talk about the prop pitch in a moment here because right now, technically, we are in beta. All right, but engine 2. So ignition on. Can't really hear the click, 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 but we'll assume we can hear it. Starter 2. There's the beep. Fuel on. Starter 2 is off. We've got power and gen on, ignition off. Okay, so now that we've got that set, let's go ahead and get our inverter 1 on, avionics, and inverter 2. We'll also turn on our transponder. It's probably a little difficult for you to see since I have to physically move here. But as you can see, we're on standby, 7,000. So we're good to go. Now, of course, it is rather loud. So now would be a good time for us to close the canopy. Much better, much better. Okay, now that the canopy is closed, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the canopy seal, and that'll inflate the little rubber seal there. You'll notice a little blue light comes on indicating it is properly sealed, and the lock goes into position there. And now that we've done that, we can set up our pressurization by hitting this little switch right here. So we're currently pressurized. We also have oxygen, so if I hit the green switch here, you will hear yep. You can see we've got full tanks. Our little blinker is telling us we're breathing in, breathing out, so we're good to go. It does get a little annoying after a while, so we'll turn it off for right now. All right, now, a couple more things that we need to do before we take off. One thing I neglected to do was I neglected to get our lights on, so let's go ahead and get our nav lights on. And we really should have the strobe on when we're starting up because it kind of acts as a beacon as well. We'll also turn on the taxi lights. So there we go. We'll leave the landing lights for when we actually get out to the runway. Speaking of which, we're going to need to taxi that way, and then right where that truck just did a U-ey, we're going to make a right. And then we're going to do like we did in the Chinook video, where we're going to go down this taxiway to the end. We'll turn around and we'll get on the runway. All right, a couple of interesting tidbits about this aircraft. There are no flaps. There are no flaps. There's also no speed brakes. So you might be wondering, with such powerful engines, how in the heck are we going to slow this thing down? Well, that's kind of where the prop pitch comes in. Now, remember I said that the prop pitch is currently in beta. So if I start pulling the prop pitch forward, that takes it out of beta, and now we are actually in, I guess, forward would probably be a good way to call it. I'm not 100% certain on my turboprop terms, so you'll have to excuse me on that one. There are two numbers that you're going to need to know when it comes to RPM. Number 1 is 18, and number 2 is 22. Now, throughout the flight, I'll explain why those are important. But the long and the short of it is, when you have it set to 22, you've got the full prop RPM for this bird. However, because of the way that these props are, it also works as an air brake while you're in the sky. So you'll see that when we want to slow down, we will actually put the RPMs to 2200, and that will actually help us slow ourselves down on approach. Whereas when we keep it at 18, even though the RPMs are less, the aircraft actually goes faster because the way that the prop pitch is. It's pretty cool. It's pretty weird. I'm sure I probably did a hack job trying to explain it to you, but trust me, it works. All right, let's finish getting everything set up here. So we need our fuel pumps, our booster pumps. You probably can't see this very well, but trust me when I tell you, both switches are flipped. We can verify because all the lights just went out. And we also have left and right boost pumps showing here. All right, let me make sure I've got everything else set up here. Yep. And there's nothing on the right side that we need to worry about, except maybe our trim. So we'll trim that up a little here. All right, so to taxi in this bird, this is probably going to be the part where most people may have difficulty with. Now, remember what I said about the prop pitch and, it working as an air brake. The same applies on the ground. So when you want to taxi, you actually have to increase your prop pitch all the way. You'll notice I have it all the way up. And then as soon as we start adding throttle, it's going to go up to 22, and it's going to allow us to slowly move forward. If we want to taxi a little bit faster, we can always bump the RPMs back down to 1800, and that has the effect of having us move faster. So let me get my hands on the controls and my feet on the pedals. We'll go ahead and practice this. All right, dude, are you going to sit there? He's going to sit there. Okay, let's get our brakes off. Another important thing that I need to mention before I remove the brakes, when you are braking in this aircraft, you must pull back on the stick. Otherwise, you run the risk of tipping on your nose, and it's not pretty, especially with two of those engines up in front. All right, but let's see if we got it. Get the brakes off. And you'll notice we are slowly but surely moving. I have it on completely idle throttle right now, and we already have enough power to move out. That should be good, but we're probably going to speed up a little bit. So let me just kind of peek over the GPS here. And we'll slowly but surely work our way over. Remember, this is a default airport, so I really don't have a better Ibiza to show you just yet. I'm hoping that somebody will make one at some point in time. I don't see that happening just yet, though. All right, we're going to pull the prop pitch back just a touch here. And we'll give it some power, and that'll help us taxi. So that's how you do it. As a matter of fact, you can probably set your throttles to just about idle, and then just play with the prop pitch, and that'll help you as far as taxiing. You really don't need to hit the throttle that much. You can keep it pretty much as bare bones as needs be. All right, this is our turnoff here. So taxiway Charlie, that's fine for me. I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle here so that we can come into this turn. Buddy, don't mess with me. You better stop. Thank you. Sheesh. These people are so inconsiderate. All right, so it should take us a shorter time to get to the end of the runway, so we'll switch to the outside view really quick, and then we'll cut in once we get to the runway. All right, so it looks like the windsock is in fact pointing us in the proper direction, and we've got our prop pitch to full. Let's go ahead and get our taxi lights off, and we'll turn our landing lights on. Okay, we will also need to set our transponder, so let me grab ye old touch controller, and we'll hit that. There we go, that is now on. The autopilot servo, we'll go ahead and turn those on as well. We won't use the autopilot just yet because I promised you some shenanigans. All right, as you can see, I've got everything set up there, and it's all on GPS, so we can use nav hold to help guide us towards Mallorca. Let me get my pitot heat on as well. Not quite sure what the temperature is up there, but better to be safe than sorry. Okay, I don't know about you folks, but I think we're just about ready. So I will hang up my touch controller, and we'll go ahead and get the brakes off. And we'll maneuver ourselves onto the runway. So you're going to find that this thing tends to leap off the ground once you actually hit your velocity that you're looking for, your VR, I guess. And you'll notice that it tends to go between 18 and 22 a lot on the RPM gauge. I'm trying to keep everything a little bit low here. If there's only one minor complaint that I have for this bird as it is represented in X-Plane, it's the fact that the two little GPS units do seem to be in the way from time to time. All right, there we go, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we are going to hold it right here. So pull back on the stick. Give it some love taps on the brakes. There we go. Parking brakes on. All right, quick scan of all gauges. Make sure everything looks kosher. Temperature's looking good. As long as it doesn't go past that 10 point there where it says start, then everything should be fine. We won't blow up the engine, or engines, plural. Let me make sure that I have our heading bugs set. So we are what? On a heading of 060 roughly. Right about there is good. Okay. Everything appears to be good to me, so you know what it's time for, folks. Brakes down, throttles up. There's our 22. Parking brakes off. And let's ease our way up to full throttle. And actually, we don't even need full throttle on this, as you will find. Right about there is good. 85% throttle. Gently pulling back on the stick, and already we are airborne. Got positive rate, so let me hit the brakes really quick. Stop the wheels, and we'll get gear up. All right, gear is up. Now we can trim ourselves down a little. There we go. And you're going to find with this bird that you have to give it a lot of downward trim when it comes to flying this thing, because she does like to fly all night. These wings are very efficient when it comes to generating lift. Probably because there's just so much space to them. Of course, you're also going to notice that the view does tend to be a little bit obstructed when you're looking down. However, that's not too critical an issue. We're already at 3,000, which is good enough for me for our shenanigans. So we'll just kind of level out here. And we're going to go to the outside view as we begin our shenanigans. We'll go right here. And you never know, I might do that picture-in-picture thing again, because that was pretty cool. All right, so we're at 4,000. We'll swing ourselves around. There we go. Okay, quick look outside. So I think for our first bit of shenanigans, what we will do is a nice slow roll. As you can see, we've got clouds in the way here. I don't want to go under them. I want to stay above them. So we're doing pretty good there. And one really cool thing that I want to show you is how this thing can practically hang on its props. So allow me to get over here and demonstrate really quick. So we're going to swing out to the right a bit here. And we're going to give it full throttle. We're just going to go into the vertical here. Sergio, I hope you're watching. Of course, we're going to bleed off all this airspeed, but while we're doing that, we can pretty much just stay on top of things until, of course, she decides to come around and do a bit of a hammerhead. But pretty cool stuff, huh? All right, let's do some shenanigans here. So first things first, I want to pull the throttle all the way back. That will, again, act as speed brakes since we have it on 2200 RPM. So you'll notice that right about now we're at 250 knots. Top speed in real life that this thing was able to muster was about 350. We can go a little bit faster than that with the turboprops here. But I think what I'll do first is we'll do another hammerhead. We'll try like a Cuban 8 or something. All right, 3,000 is my working altitude here. Let's give it full power. Okay, there we go. Head to the end of the runway. We'll do that picture-in-picture real quick. And here we go, going vertical again. Remember, this thing was designed for speed. It was not really designed for aerobatics. There we go. Kick the rudder over to the right. Does take its own sweet time coming back down, that's for sure. And we'll head the other way. We're actually going to pull out of this about 4,000 feet. Let's get the power back to 85%. And we are at 4,000. Okay, so did promise you a Cuban 8, so we're going to pull up. Keep it at 85% throttle. And let's use the runway as our guide for this Cuban 8. So here we go. First we're going down. Keep everything centered here. Make sure we've got some decent speed. Getting close to 4,000. And alley-up. Full power. Bring her around. Still on full power, looking good, looking good. Cut the power, roll us around, and we're coming back down. Coming close to 3,000. Here we are, so we'll come back in the other direction, full power. And remember, we're still at 2,200 RPM. So far, so good. Pull the power back, roll her around. And that right there is the end of our Cuban 8. Let's do a loop while we're at it, too. So I'm going to go full power. And 3,000 is what I'm looking for. So we'll hold it right there. Try not to get the stall warning going. Now I'm actually pulling back fairly hard. All right, cut power back to 85%. And cut power to idle. Back down to 3,000. Voila! And then to top it off, we'll do a little victory roll. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, so that should be it for the shenanigans for today. So what we'll do is we'll actually get to our cruise altitude, which is going to be about 7,000 feet. And we'll get ourselves on heading here. We'll also pull the power back. So I want my RPM to be 1,800. Right about there should be good. And according to the GPS, we're pretty much heading in the right direction. So since we have our master autopilot on, I can now set us up for an increase in our VS, or vertical speed. Let's make sure that came on. Oh, it did not come on. Why did it not come on? All right, there we go. Now we got it on. Although it does say that we are now descending, which is not ideal. All right, so it's going to sort itself out here and pretty much get us on the correct heading. There we go. And let's see, 7,000 is what I said I wanted, right? I do believe that is correct. So say goodbye to Ibiza, folks. We are not going to be coming back here for this series, but that is okay because we're going to check out Mallorca next. And let me set this up again. VS, it still says -2. I don't know why it's saying that, but I don't like that. I want it to say +2. So I'm going to get off the controls here so that way I'm not influencing it. And we'll do this manually. There we go. So 300 feet per minute. Of course, remember, I do have that turbulence set up in the sim. So yeah, there is that. As soon as we get up to 7,000, I will level her out. But as you can see, our GPS has already gotten us on the correct flight path. So we've got about 12 minutes to go to get there, and now that we are at 1,800 in RPM, not only are we going to be cruising as far as our fuel usage goes, but we're also be getting some really good speed, so averaging about 300 knots, thereabouts. I could increase throttle, but I found that keeping it right around 85% is good for most sprints. If I were racing, obviously, I'd probably want to pop that up a little bit here. And as soon as we get to 7,000, I will level us out. And then we will go back to the outside view for some cloud scenery. Which I've got to say, between Microsoft Flight Simulator and DCS, they've kind of spoiled me. I really don't like looking at these clouds anymore. Come on, X-Plane. I need you to catch up. Please. All right, altitude hold is on. And we go to the outside. Ooh-wee. Getting awful close to those clouds there. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. X-Plane automatically goes to that whiteout once you get a little bit close to the clouds, so may want to bring it down just a touch here. Coming down by about 100 feet per minute. May have gone a little overboard with the turbulence there, folks. You'll notice that we're kind of shimmying and shaking, all kinds of crazy here. But we've only got about 7 minutes worth of flying time until we hit Mallorca, Palma de Mallorca. So we should be good. All right about there is what I want, 7,000. So altitude hold back on. And you can actually begin to see Mallorca right there. So The bay that we're looking for is directly ahead, and the airport is just beyond that. But once we get close to this little horn here, we're going to do some more funky shenanigans. Not aerobatics this time, but we're going to do some nap of the earth flying just because it's fun. All right, so once again, we'll go back to the outside view, and when we come back in, it will be time for top of descent. One of the things that I kind of like about how this aircraft is the fact that when you are pretty much cruising, you're kind of tipping forward. It's just so wild. All right, but as you can see, we pretty much arrived at Mallorca, so let's go ahead and get our autopilot completely off. There we go. And we can also turn off the master switch. And since we've got some coastline here, let's head to the deck. So the airport we're looking for is right over there, but we're going to do some fun shenanigans this way. So once again, I'll pop out the picture-in-picture to help guide us along our journey here. And we'll figure out where exactly we plan on buzzing. As I mentioned before, this thing was designed to race, so we can really see how fast this thing can get here. So I'm pulling the power back up, 85% throttle, and we're going to make everybody's lives interesting. Just leave it at that. I'm seeing some mountain ranges up ahead, so I'm thinking we're probably going to want to fly over there just to kind of see what they've got on that neck of the woods there. We'll see what other fun and interesting stuff we can find here in Mallorca. And one thing I will let you be aware of is the fact that the FPS has dropped a little. This is a much bigger island than Ibiza was, so you can expect to lose some FPS, especially if you've got those things above you right there. And unfortunately, since I can't really control what goes on in the X-plane weather, it's just currently set to a default, but I can't tell it exactly where to fit clouds in. There's not much I can really do to improve the FPS that you're seeing right now, so you'll have to forgive me on that one. You know how it goes when you're recording in VR. Trim us down a little bit more here. There we go. All right, which one of you mountains wants to be my path? I think right about there, directly behind that one prop. So yeah, let's do that. In fact, let's go to the outside view and do that. We'll do the close outside view. gotta admit, this looks really good. I mean, it is taking a lot of FPS to run, but other than that, it looks pretty good. This is an incredible island. I didn't realize the Med was right there, the Mediterranean. You know what? Let's head over there. I want to swing past this mountain on our way back. But yeah, look at those roads. That's pretty awesome stuff. I love it when they go to the extra details of getting all these windy roads in here. That's pretty cool. Nicely done, Orbix. Nicely done. Looks like some kind of fishing village or something over there. So we'll just pop up that way and then we'll start heading south towards the airport. And remember, we are still at 1800 RPM. So that is pretty much our cruise RPM. For whenever we want to do the funky aerobatic shenanigans, we'll go to 22. Look at that. That's pretty cool. FPS definitely dropping right now. And what in the heck happened to these roads? Holy crap, Orbix. Do I need to take back everything I just said about the Orbix roads? Come on, Orbix. This is the purpose of my doing these videos too. In addition to showing you, the consumer, what the scenery looks like, I'm also showing the developers what they can do to improve. All right, we're gonna cut through this area here, and I definitely am feeling the burn when it comes to the FPS loss. Holy crap. Apologies again, folks. I'm gonna cut through this little valley here. Hopefully my picture-in-picture fares a little bit better than this. Of course, I can't see it while I'm recording this, but it will, of course, be edited in. All right. I think that is enough fun with mountains for today. So let's see if we can work our way down to the airport. So we're going to want to make a left here. I want to say that is our airport right down there. I think it is. Could be wrong. But either way, I do know that we are going to need to go over the water. And actually, maybe the airport is over there. That's potential too. Yeah, I think that is our airport directly ahead. All right, so in order to bring ourselves in, we will of course need to slow down because as you can see, the little yellow line indicates our gear speed. There's no flaps, there's no speed brakes, but we do have RPM. So we're going to increase our prop pitch again to 22. It's basically full prop pitch. And in order to slow us down, we're just going to pull back the throttle. Ah, yes, there's the airport. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I don't know why I was looking all the way over there. That's not even remotely close to being an airport. Huh. All right, let's bring the power back and we'll start trimming her up. Because invariably, once we start losing power, we're also going to start losing altitude. Now, I believe the runway at Mallorca is pretty much in the same direction as the one that we just left from Ibiza, so we're going to need to head out to sea and then come back around to a heading of about 060. Keep trimming her up a little here. And you know what? Let's get our landing lights back on. There we go. Okay, and there's the airport. Head out this way. We're still at 2,000 in altitude, so yeah, we could definitely afford to come down some. A little bit more trim. Want to get just below that yellow line. Perfect. We'll drop our gear. 3 down and lock. Definitely need to trim now. And we'll begin our turn to base. So I'm thinking we want the leftmost runway here. So we'll start pulling the power up. I don't think I'll need my oxygen, so we'll go ahead and turn that off. We'll just line ourselves up and we'll see what the Vazzy lights or the Pappy lights have to say. Now once we land, because we have it at 2200 RPM, that should help us slow down considerably. However, just bear in mind that this bird was built for racing, so stopping it is not an easy endeavor. And if you do need to stop it, do not forget, hold your pitch back or hold your stick back so that you've got prop pitch or full, not prop pitch, but you know what I mean, elevator pitch. You're going to hear that buffeting sound. That's actually what we want. We want it to be just close to stall when we start getting on the deck. And I kind of overshot there because I was looking at the taxiway instead of the runway. I was having a Harrison Ford moment there. Sorry, Han. All right. So we're slowly but surely inching our way down, and we're actually coming down a lot steeper than I normally would like, but I'm trying to keep our speed into consideration. You'll notice it's just above the red line. I'm also trying to line us up on those Pappy lights. There's one red. And there's two reds. Okay, now we can increase our throttle just a touch. We'll still keep descending. A little too much throttle. And we'll bring her in. We'll switch to the picture-in-picture so that we can see the runway view on our way in here. And there we go, just like Hawaii 5-0. I'm going to land a little long on this one because I happen to know where I'm parking, and it's way around the other end here. All right, right about there is good. So we'll increase our angle of attack and bring her in. Little bit of bouncy there, but I'm keeping the back pressure on the stick, and I'm actually listening to the wheels to determine when we are going to slow down enough for me to hit the brakes. I'm also going to put the throttle completely in idle. So you notice how everything just changes. Now we are good to start hitting the brakes. All right, so holding back on the stick, giving it a little bit of love taps. Just like that. Welcome to Palma de Mallorca. Woohoo! We are going to have some fun here today. All right, let me increase or decrease actually our prop pitch. And we'll make a right turn here. The clicking sound that you heard is the Whirlpool going past the idle detent. So it's just past the idle detent right now. And that's where we want to keep it for our taxi. All right. So yeah, once again, welcome to Mallorca. And it's going to take us a little bit to taxi to our parking spot. So once again, we'll go back to the outside view and we'll cut it back in when we are about to pull into our spot and end this video. All right, so we are just about at our parking area, so let me pull back on the stick and give it some love taps for the brakes. And I'm looking for a white square to park inside of, so we'll just kind of make our way here. Increase the prop pitch once more, so that way the props themselves act as a giant speed brake. Is this my square? This might be my square. No, there's my square. It's over that side. All right, so that's pretty much where we're going to park it. And we're going to leave it right there. So we'll get just enough power to pull ourselves around, since I'm losing a little bit of power here by hitting the rudders. All right. Right about there is where I want it. And stop. Parking brakes on. Perfect. All right, so that will do it, folks. And I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed our little flight, including all the shenanigans from Ibiza to Mallorca. Just to remind you, this has been Orbix, Balearic Islands. Huge thank you to Orbix for the review copy of this scenery package. And it is payware, and it is available at the link in the video description below. The aircraft that we have been flying today has, of course, been the VSkyLabs rendition of the Rutan Pond Racer, so named for Bob Pond, the owner of the aircraft. Unfortunately, it was tragically lost in real life, but I think this version for X-Plane will fly forever. All right, let's go ahead and get some power off here. So the easiest way to do that, of course, is going to be to just pull out these fuel levers. So while I'm doing that, let me get everything else off here. Booster pumps off. Stand by on that. Inverters off. Avionics off. Pitot heat off. Pressurization off. And we can actually unseal that. Woo! Just got loud. All right, let's turn our engines off. There we go. Landing lights off. Strobe lights off. Nav lights off. Oh, I forgot my generators. We'll turn those off too. So there we go, folks. Thank you again for watching. Did notice that we were starting to run a little bit low on gas. We were in the yellow zone. You don't have long legs with this thing. It's designed to go fast. It's not designed to go far. But thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode. I've been flying in X-Plane 11, and I will catch you sometime in the very near future with some more Balearic Islands goodness. Until then, I hope everyone has an excellent evening, and I will talk to you all really soon. Ciao!